Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Scorpio channel. Don't mind me. I look like crazy, like my black eye. Got a black eye on Thanksgiving. I got elbowed in the eye. So don't don't mind it. And I'm looking crazy. Running around, trying to get to the gym. So I am a few minutes late, trying to like fit it all in and trying to stay balanced is hard to stay balanced, um, especially during emotional times. I feel like, that's going to tie in somehow to the reading. Never any mistakes, especially on this channel. This channel is all about uncovering your inner child wounds, your shadow healing, so that you can heal the effects of trauma, so you can attract people that people and situations and experiences that resonate with who you are, not the traumas of the past. I try and mix it up a little bit because we're always manifesting whether we realize it or we don't. So a lot of times we wouldn't know what we really thought on a subconscious level. We don't know that. Again, that's why it's subconscious. But a lot of times our experiences that we create, we've created them from a place of trauma. We haven't created them from our true sense of self. And the true sense of self is the higher self. That's the God part of self. And it's more of a knowing. It's not a logic, it's more intuitive. And it's from the higher self, as I said. And that higher self, we're all connected to each other through the energy of the universe. The energy of unconditional love is the energy of the universe. It's the energy of God. That's the energy of spirit. That's the energy inside of you. So when we're balanced, we're in this perfect state. So we wouldn't realize that we're not balanced over time. It feels natural to be imbalanced many times. So what happens is we have karmic themes that play out in our life, and those karmic themes teach us. So a lot of times you'll say, "Oh God, what's the whole point of this horrible connection?" Well, if it's a horrible connection, it's all about learning. Every single relationship is all about going to teach you to learn. Karmic connections are hard because there is this intense love that transcends time and space. There is ESP through the heart and mind. It feels a lot of times like a soulmate twin flame. However, there's karmic lessons, and you can tell by a person's behaviorisms and habits whether or not they're ready to evolve or not. We always have free will to choose. So you may say, well, like I was connected to my soulmate twin flame, but they don't want to rise up. They have an option too. It's again, but God gives us free will. So understand that doesn't mean that you won't evolve. What it means is that eventually what would happen is you would raise your vibration so high that that person would no longer resonate with you, and you'd actually break the cord. And I feel like your own guys are almost there. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but again, we're going to see what goes on. Now, if you want to enter into a free reading with me, like the video, subscribe to the channel, write the word of the video in your comment bar. The word of the video is always on the first card that I pull out. It's the underlying energy that tells me why everyone's doing what they're doing, especially when people wear masks. Okay, it's like they create illusions, and those illusions irritate us. A lot of times that's really what it is. It irritates them. We don't understand why they do what they do. What's the entire point of the connection? Seeing the connection from a spiritual perception automatically changes your energy, because then you're not taking things personally. The emotional charge is like, is, it's not as strong. All right, let's see what the word of the video is. The word of the video, what is it? You want me to do two? It's almost like I feel like there's no mistakes. So, omniscience. That's a state of all knowing. It's claircognizance. It's like, I don't know how I knew that. I just knew. It's again, we all have that, but it's also again ESP through the heart and mind. It's all about one consciousness. That's that energy of unconditional love and all things that are derived from unconditional love and patience. So this is the energy. And so it's like, you guys might not like this, especially if you're dealing with somebody that is not healed. So, so again, don't shoot the messenger, and we've only getting into the very beginning. But it's almost like both parties know. Again, there's still a very strong spiritual connection, love. It doesn't mean that you're happy with this person, but the fact that there's an emotional connection, they can feel it. And that gives this person hope. There's a knowing that it's almost like it's going to work out somehow. They don't know how it's going to work out. And you may even be like, well, I'm not really quite sure whether it's going to work out, but I want it to kind of work out. But I actually don't want it to work out. It's like because of this person. So you're kind of wishy washy, but the underlying energy is that there's unconditional love. And that unconditional love transcends time and space. It can't be broken. It can't be manipulated. It just is. So I feel like this person is like tried. Doesn't mean that they haven't tried to do that. Usually people do try, especially when they're at a lower state consciousness, trying to control the connection. Finally, they come to a place of surrender. So it's almost like I said, this both parties know there's an inner knowing, like this isn't over yet. This isn't over yet. It's like I may want it to be over, but it's not over yet. And because there's still a part of me that's attached to you, and I don't really know why. It's like that's where I feel like you might be, where this person is like, oh yeah, you're my person. Like I finally realized it, because that's usually how it works. It's like the runner and the chaser change a little bit, because now you're like, I'm so disgusted. It's like that I had to do all that. But you'll get back to a place of unconditional love. It's like I feel like this person has a way of either being very codependent and suffocating you, or not giving you any attention at all. Like there doesn't really seem to be any middle of the road thing. And so it's almost like sets it up to be very codependent. And so over time, I could see that you could feel like maybe you couldn't breathe. You could have felt like this person was stifling you, or this person felt that way about you. And meanwhile, you're like, I'm not even really giving you anything. It's like you're acting like that. Sometimes, again, if a person's very tapped in because there's a soulmate energy, it's very deep. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of love, which scares the hell out of that person, because it makes them do the deep dive into themselves. So they don't like that time. Like I feel like this person refused to give you the time. So there was almost like, you're like, we spent time, but I didn't really feel like it was quality time. And so it's how much energy a person pours into you that you're building an emotional bond. So I feel like you felt as if this person emotionally wasn't giving, and they weren't. But that doesn't mean that they didn't care. Like it's a lot of times protecting the heart and not aware of it. And I feel like you went through the same type of situation over and over and over and over and over. Like, it's like, okay, well, like I thought that it was going to be normal, and then it wasn't. And it was like memory. I just felt I have already lived through this before, and it just triggered my reaction to that memory, which is understand. We begin to see what we look for, especially if someone has already taught you that they can't be trusted. So a lot of times we're already on guard, and we're looking. So I could see how that person would feel suffocated, because it's like you're being like, well, I don't trust, so now I have to micromanage you to protect myself. And so there's a sense of always looking for that. And that, I believe, is like the trauma. It's like, I don't want to be in a relationship where you're not giving me time, but then that must mean that you're giving someone else time. Or even if you're not, why aren't you making me feel comfortable? Like emotionally safe, because that's really all that it takes. And I feel like this person just had a hard time in doing that. And so then you begin to look for it, and then you just felt like this person doing it was kind of like abuse. But when I say abuse, I'm talking about emotional abuse that people tend to downplay. They tend to to not realize that the emotional abuse is what creates the samskara, which is a combination of astral energy, which is thought energy, and emotional energy. And that's what creates habits. That's what creates a person to be like paranoid, a little bit paranoid, because they're with the person that they can't trust. And then it's almost like that they feel like they can't trust themselves, because there's a little bit of gaslighting that goes on with that also, because the person doesn't like know how to just, I feel like, emotionally be vulnerable, be open without like drama. I'm going to see why again, family patterns. So again, ancestral karma. And that could be a person like inherited addictions, like avoidance style behavior, like narcissism, just one-sided energy. And if this person emotionally sets it back, it's again burdens. Like I feel like this person might see relationships as burdens because they wind up taking on too much. That's the thing with people that are very spiritually imbalanced, is that they don't feel strong in themselves. So they come into the relationship and they make the person into who they want that person to be, but they're in balance. So what they want today is not what they want tomorrow. So we have to go with the flow of life. We have to find balance in our life in order to find balance in a relationship. Otherwise, there's a sense of needing to control the relationship, which is what this person tends to like do, but then they don't like the relationship because it's burdensome. It takes a lot of energy to micromanage not just your own life, but other people's lives. And then because they don't trust, because they want to make sure it's okay. And then it creates a mistrust within inside of you. And it's really all that ancestral karma, but you don't know what happened when those, your ancestors were born. Your ancestors could have been born like during slavery times, and they really didn't have control over their life. They had inherited collective karma, or it could be a number of other reasons where they were suppressed. The issue is that the behaviorism and the habits is something that's been, taught. So it feels comfortable over time. And that's so you need to like recondition. Perfectionism. So a person feels inadequate. Whenever a person feels the need to show that their life is perfect. Sorry, I kind of like just to always forget to read the comments. So I'll answer questions after. But I say, like, if your family is somebody that's really hard on themselves, like they work like really long hours and hard jobs, and it's all about making money, and they've gotten a little bit hard. You can see like emotionally hard, not letting people out. It's like that would be like a family pattern, but it's one that shuts down the heart. It's one that because the person is like feels inadequate. That's what, and understand and trying to be perfect, that's you always self-sabotage, because there's no such thing as perfect. We shoot for excellence, because there's not a one size that fits all. See, we can find that universal panacea, which is the magic pill of life, which is unconditional love, and find that space where we all can connect there. But trying to be perfect to create the facade, the illusion, makes it impossible to have a strong, intimate connection. You can't. And if you've been taught in a family that things need to look a certain way, you need to look a certain way, you need to act a certain way. Those beliefs get instilled within us, and then it feels wrong, and you identify with those things with mother and father, which you love, that you want to be accepted, you want to be, we're taught as society that that's the way that it should be, that's the way that it is. And when you live with someone long enough, you can love them even if you don't like them. So it's because it's like, well, it's what's familiar, it's like, but you don't want to settle to do what's familiar when it comes to ancestral karma. especially family patterns that are going to keep you in a place of uh, limitation, where manipulation, of feeling inadequate, where really you might be the achiever, but now you're with somebody that's going to tell you that you're like something wrong with you. It's again, well, if a person feels inadequate, they're going to think that everybody that's connected to them is inadequate. There's going to be a lot of projection because they're frustrated. They don't know how to fix their life. There's going to be a lot of projection. So that's why I said the family patterns of feeling inadequacy. And might always play too, not just as manipulation, again, trying to control the environment because they don't feel safe. And that's what I said earlier. But I'm surprised we haven't seen addictions yet because it doesn't feel good to be in this energy for long periods of time. The constant judgment of themselves, really. It's like where this person doesn't like who they are. They know that you wouldn't like who they are, but they don't like who they are. So they, create a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's all based in like fear. So almost fear to move over, and that's because they feel like they're not enough. But it also will show up as lack of money, lack of finances, lack, where we know that the universe is abundant. We have the universe inside of us. We can create our life, but we can't create our life if we're in a place of fear. And that creates a lot of overstimulation. And this overstimulation that I feel like, because it's the way that parents have taught their child who to be. So again, it could be some that are brought up as being Jewish, and the Jewish person wants to marry a Catholic person. It could be, well, I'm not supposed to marry out of my culture. I'm not supposed to marry this, that, the other, the whoever. Like, again, there's millions of reasons why. Like, and we could be here all day. But you get the gist. You put it towards, if it's your story, whether your parents are so overbearing or whoever raised you or wherever you were conditioned in, I should say. It's like, because we get conditioned to believe that we're lacked. That's why, again, we feel inadequate. I'm not enough. But where does that come from? That comes from outside, being brought up in an environment that you're constantly being judged. So that's the wound. So trying to actually be in a relationship with somebody that has these patterns and hasn't integrated them and sees everything from a place of fear is because they feel inadequate. It's like you can't fix that. It's like they have to fix it themselves. However, you can be the muse for that by showing through example, because this person would need to be able to raise their vibration to get up to your level. And so how is that done? Well, again, if a person is really vibing at a low consciousness, they're not going to be able to be emotionally vulnerable. They're not going to be emotionally intelligent. They're going to try to logic everything, strategize, but there's wounds. So everything that they're seeing they're seeing it through distorted perception, because they're not coming from their true self, their higher self. They're coming from the shadow parts of self. So it's almost like looking in a funhouse mirror, and like, let's just say you're driving and that's the mirror that you get to use. Everything's going to look really distorted. Well, this person's actions are going to be in alignment with that. So it's almost like their inadequacy will make you feel inadequate because they don't know how to act. So it's not a spiritual thing. You'll be like, I can feel that there's a connection, but why does it look like that? Well, because a person feels inadequate, so they're going to make you feel inadequate. It's like if they project. And then what comes from that is like, well, I can't really trust them. Well, as long as they don't know who they are, they're always going to come from that emotional center, and they're not emotionally intelligent. So they're coming from that lower consciousness, which is about, there's a lust, there's a passion, because I'm attracted to you, but I haven't taken the time to actually get to know you and nurture the connection. So you're what I imagine you to be, which isn't real. So again, what relationships are something that happen over time. This person feels inadequate because They think that things need to look a certain way. They think they need to be a certain way. Part of that's family patterns, again, being brought up in a certain environment. They could have went to school. They could have, again, and there's millions of scenarios that play out. Don't be gay. Do be gay. Like, do, you know, do you, if you're going to be successful, it should look like this. If you want to be successful in life, you should have this, you know. And so the person feels inadequate because they're trying to become someone else instead of realizing that life is an unfoldment process, that we have to become ourselves, and we become ourselves by finding ourselves. And it's an actual unfoldment process that's unique to each and every one of us. So when a person feels inadequate, they don't feel good enough, they don't love, they won't get that deep. So it's, again, you can still feel like that there's a spiritual connection, and spirit says, yeah, because I'm utilizing you as the catalyst to hopefully awaken. This person has an opportunity. There's many different realities that play at one time. The universe says it's up to you to depend on what you're going to do. And we always have opportunities to break certain karma. I mean, until a whole lifetime. You know, a lot of times these themes play out, especially if it's family patterns of feeling inadequate because you're not being like who that parent wants you to be. It's, again, the certain judgments and trying to fit into a mold that doesn't exactly fit for them. Now, understand it's not a blame game either. I'm not blaming parents. What I'm saying is it's, again, the pressures, because parents tend to, they're like, this is what worked back in 1924. And, you had to live like this when we were living on the prairie farm. You know what I mean? But you don't live on the prairie farm. And that's not who you are. But that person's traumatized. Mother and father's traumatized because they did live on the prairie farm, and it was like a fucking horrible nightmare to live there. They couldn't make money and this and that. So now they're gearing you for that experience that's not happening, but then you're looking for that to happen. So family patterns not all the time are like you were brought up in abuse. It's like, no, but it's, again, it's the people were traumatized. They weren't taught of how to spiritually heal. They went through experiences that traumatized them. War, poverty, depressions, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And there was just no help, no spiritual help, which made us grow away from who we are. And so we become our behaviorisms, and the habits that have unfolded due to those behaviorisms are what block us. And so that's what we see here. So this isn't about love, because you'd be like, I can feel that there's a connection. But again, why? The spirit says it doesn't have anything to do with you. For this person, again, they're only going to hear criticism because they try to have a conversation with this person. It's like you're going to hear everything like through the funhouse mirror. It's going to be distorted. It's like, because they feel inadequate, when really they have to heal themselves in order to get there. However, they don't think that they can. So they tend to come into the relationship and, take over in that relationship. And they take over in the relationship because if they don't have a sense of self, well, then they're expecting you to fix it, and they're not balanced. So the relationship tends to go from one extreme to another extreme. But I always still like to look at the hidden truth, because just because you see all this doesn't mean that the person doesn't have feelings. And it also doesn't mean that they wouldn't approach you. It's, again, because they're not conscious, of this. It's subconsciously. It's how their behaviorisms are playing out in their relationship and how it's affecting you. Then we always ask and say, well, what are you supposed to learn from it? Especially if you're like, well, this is so imbalanced. Well, sometimes you can balance it out by integrating different behaviorisms and habits, doing something different. Because, again, there's many different realities that play out at one time. But Oh, sometimes it's just that you help that person evolve. And as you do, you become a higher vibration. And then you don't resonate with them anymore. I wish things could be different. And I'm feeling like they could, but sometimes when people are so stuck in their beliefs, they're comfortable in being uncomfortable. I love you. And you'd be like, now what the hell is that? And it's like, again, unconditional love is that it transcends all time and space. But it would require this person to try and become a better version of themselves, because who's going to put up with that? Things could be different, but they have to change. I know I messed up everything. So it's again through their lack of feeling lack. And I feel like that played out as lack of commitment, not having enough to give, not feeling enough, not letting you get close, not forming that intimate connection that made you feel safe. So the time this person was like, you needed to see something. I'm afraid to contact you. Yeah, because it's like this person's afraid of rejection. So it's almost like, hey, if I never come back, you can't reject me. And I just can kind of leave it like in the imagination. The imagination is that that it could work out. It's like, but I don't really know. That's again, it shows a very lack of character, right? It's because this person's fearful. They don't have a strong sense of self. So you might have looked at this person and said, you look fine to me. It's like, you look like you had it all together. Well, again, that they can do that with certain masks, but it's like, I'm afraid to contact you because I know I messed up everything. And because I really care, I'm not going to be able to deal with you telling me to go, screw myself, or never that you don't want to talk to me again, because I know that I wasn't good. I know I didn't give you anything. I know that. I know I didn't emotionally give, and I couldn't let you get close to me. And that's again because I don't like me. So, you definitely wouldn't like me. Like there's like that kind of energy there. I don't mean to laugh, but it's almost like, what was drilled into this person's head. So they were brought up in an environment they were told, you're a piece of crap. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. You just don't make the mark. They were shamed. So it's like it comes out. It comes out within their behaviorisms. But that's what, until they heal, they're going to continually, hear everything through criticism. These situations are helping this person to become awake. But instead, they're like, no, I can't let you get close, because I would rather you think of me as this facade. And I would rather keep it in this imagination that, hey, maybe it could work out one day, even though I knew I screwed up everything. And I don't want to have to confront you, because you have a reason to not talk to me ever again. But that would bother me because I still have feelings. And then I can't be in imagination land, which is what I feel like this person does. I feel like it's part of escapism. It's like, you don't know how hard it was to let you go. Yeah, it's like they didn't want to let you go, but it's like you have to change. It's like, and they, part of them was hoping that you'd hang on forever. And so no one wants to do that. It's like you finally got to a place. Now, I always like to say, is there deeper? Can we go deeper? Like sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. Because sometimes the person can get so uncomfortable in this space. Now, we incarnated together to clear specific patterns from our ancestral bloodline. And that's what it said. This person had, you connected with this person because they were brought up in an environment that, again, family patterns. And I believe I don't believe this person doesn't believe that they can be loved. They feel like they're inadequate. They feel like there's something wrong with them. They still are affected by that childhood trauma. And so I do believe that it played out in other relationships. And then with this relationship, it's a deep relationship. This person, like, there's still love there. But unless this person can control it, it's like they're not going to really, and they, if it's a real love, they're not going to be able to control it. It's like they have to, again, heal. And part of healing is just healing themselves, because going off on their own and finding themselves, because there is what I mean, because this person is not what they think they are. They feel inadequate because they're seeing themselves through the lens of someone else, of trying to become someone else, trying to emulate someone else. We can all try and copy someone else. And, some of us can do imitations a lot better than others. I can pretend I'm Sylvester Stallone too. It's like, I'm not going to do a very good reenactment, but it's like emulate is copy. That's not coming from your true self, your higher self. When you're coming from your authentic true self, you're in the flow of the universe. Everything falls into place. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. As one door closes, another door opens. You're in the higher self, the God part of self, living your bliss. You're not in a survival mind, strategic mind of trying to figure out who you are. So it's different, and having to worry, oh, I hope that I'm going to be accepting of other people. And I'm usually not. So there's always a fear. So everything that this person does, they're coming from a fear-based consciousness. So they get in their way all the time, is what I'm trying to say. Psychological reversal, one right after another, like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's like annoying, where it's because they feel inadequate, and that's overstimulating. And so it's almost like that emotional and psychological abuse that was just passed down. And then this person hasn't lived enough life. They haven't lived enough life. And so just being in a relationship with someone is not going to be enough to fix them, but in a way this person feels like it would. And that's the mistake I feel like that they keep making, where it becomes a codependent relationship, but not if you're going to be strong in yourself. You're not going to put up with that. So of course they're not going to let you get close, because I can't manipulate you. I can't, do, because you're not going to stay. We're not going to say, I'm sad, it's over, and I wish it could be different. Yeah, it can be. But again, they'd have to be transparent. You know what I mean? It's like, but you'll feel that. So this person will look for you in cheaper versions of, you. It's like, instead of Prada, they're going to find Prado. You know what I mean? It's going to be like a knockoff, a cheap version. And they're always going to know that it's a cheap version, because they have the opportunity to step it up, and they can step it up. But they're like, well, unless they really clear these family patterns of feeling of lack and not good enough, it's like they're not going to give enough to anyone. So the only people that are going to put up with that are people that don't know their worth. And so I feel like, even though there's a strong spiritual connection, I feel as if, it wasn't so much about being with this person. It was more about clearing the ancestral bloodline of whatever you were told. That negative family karma is ancestral karma. Like, you were brought up the same way that this person was. However, you might have been always the giver, the lover, the fixer, the nurturer, and didn't get anything back in return. While this person is the taker. And, but so the relationship needs to be a certain way to have control. And they already knew that wasn't going to happen. So it can always be, we have free will. But again, it's like, I'm going to do a pity party for myself. Lightning strikes, dismantle outdated ways of being to get a fresh start. It's again, so like it's almost like this person, like I think once you're really out of their life and other things, like you can't live like with these family patterns of feeling lack. It's not just going to affect your relationships, it's going to affect all across the board. And that's the problem. This person feels like they don't really fit in anywhere. They're not good at anything. Their life doesn't really work. And it's so, again, they're outdated because they were taught. Now, this person might have, like you might say, well, when was it ever in fashion for a person to feel like they were not good enough, that they didn't have? Well, I feel like this person, part of their outdated ways is to not come back and apologize, to feel like to be strong, it need to look a certain way, that everyone needs to like play a certain role. I also feel like the shock of, hey, like it's really like you're out of this person's life and other things in this person's life are not working. If they can't use you as a place of escapism, right? Because it's like once you say, well, I'm not going to be in your life, you can't continue to really imagine that type of chemistry because that's a little bit in the way. So if it begins to bother this person, and then I feel like, epiphany is that it's like realizing that you are important to them, but it's they renewal like is also like they would have to actually do the work. So I feel like they're coming to finally awaken to at least realize that you mean something to them, where I don't think that this person really, like they usually miss people. And that does happen when we've always gotten to come from a place of lack and feeling like we're not good enough and giving so little. We don't normally form strong emotional connections, but this is a spiritual connection. That's why there's an epiphany. That's why again there's almost like a shock. It's like a tower. That's what this reminds you of, right? A tower, like a tower moment. Well, a tower moment has to happen in order for change. So I'm not saying you were the only thing that made this happen, but I'm telling you, this person, how they were living, it would be affecting their entire life. Like bad things would happen. Poker face. Be aware of hidden intentions and underlying motive. Deceit, risky, and trickster. So I also feel like this person's going to act like that nothing is wrong, but I feel like things are wrong. I feel like their life is falling apart. I feel like they wouldn't tell you that though. I feel like they wouldn't be transparent. And because they're not in a good place, that they might, if they have very poor character, and they might try and overstep their boundaries, borrow money, like do things where, if the relationship is very codependent and can turn very toxic very quick because this person feels inadequate. They feel less than. They don't feel safe. They're looking for someone to save them. It's like, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings. But unless you're going to come in weak and fix this person's life, which obviously has happened before, which is why they actually are confident in a way like, well, I can find somebody. I don't think that it is going to be that easy. I think it has been easy, but that's the problem when a person continues to go through karmic cycles of every 10 years, every 12 years, they relive the same karmic theme where their entire life falls apart because somebody comes into their life and screws it up, or a relationship ends, or they make a wrong decision, or eventually just coming from a place of inadequacy and not feeling good enough and living. They keep recreating those experiences. And so again, they would go to somebody and try to have that person save them over time. And they would, again, be taking too much from you and not giving anything back. So it would be very draining. That's the problem. The family pattern, I believe, is also codependent. It's like codependency. It's like feeling the need to take care of. You might have came from that, like watching someone have to take care of someone else because that person never showed up. So they had to be micromanaged. And so the constant fear is what you felt, which is all about like about now. It's not about being with this person, even though I believe that they're going to awaken due to this experience, but they're not healed. They're going to take time to heal. And you being connected to this person, you would feel like you were caged in, I'm telling you. And what spirit is saying is like, no, this is all about unlocking the gate to yourself, to explore the unknown and walk a new path. It's about mastery of self. It's a passage. It's a courage. It's almost like you had to go back to the trauma in order to see it from a different perception. So I feel like growing up in an environment where you watched a parent continually get in their own way, like where life was so difficult. And there was love, but it was a difficult kind of love. And so here it is, you can either go back into that experience and relive that experience, and that would be karmic theme, or you have an opportunity to again walk into the unknown. And the unknown is only because you haven't lived it yet, but it would be through the different version of yourself. And so again, it's about loving yourself. So because even though this person really does have feelings, you can see they love you from their level of consciousness, but they don't love themselves. So because they don't love themselves, they would never be able to give you what you need. So understand, you walking away, of course, it affects them. It's like it's traumatizing, but it would have to be in order for them to actually explore the unknown, instead of trying to redo the same thing that they always do. Too late for you, because spirit says it's just not enough. I believe that it's not enough. It's like you haven't lived enough experiences. We're going to pull 6 cards from the inner child cards to see why would you attract this person. What's the whole point of the connection? Unworthy, feeling unworthy. Well, again, right then and there, this person, they feel unworthy. Growing up and you feeling unworthy. Misunderstood. A lot of empaths get that. It's like, no, it's like, I'm not looking to I just want to be treated the way that, I would treat someone else, and then overgiving and overdoing, and then it never being really reciprocated, and then feeling as if, well, you're misunderstood, like you don't need it when you do need it, but you don't get it by doing it for someone else. You actually get it by doing it for yourself. When you do it for yourself, you teach people how you want to be treated. It's like when you do it for other people, when they haven't earned it, it becomes expected. So then you're getting love without respect because they didn't earn it. So it's again that unworthy, feeling unworthy. So I feel like you might have given this person a little bit too much time. And you have to say, I didn't really give them that much time. It's like, again, well, when we have this connection, that's what they can feel too. So they're like, oh, you really like me. But then it's also when you are really successful in your life, really successful, like you do a lot of things within the day. And someone that's not giving you anything, you wouldn't spend, like, if the person chimed in every other week or once a month and talked to you, you wouldn't sit there and talk to them for the full hour. You talking to them for the full amount of time and them coming in and out of your life doing that, what you're saying is it's okay. Even though you may not like it, you're going along with it. So you may say, well, what do? You give that person less time. They chime in and they get all comfortable, like they're about to sit there and be like, oh no, I'm going out. I'm leaving. I had about 4 minutes in conversation with you. You didn't earn the right. It's like you're disrespecting me. You're coming in and out. When a person really has passion in their life, they don't have time. Don't waste my time. It's like, because I don't have the time for it. Other places I'm going, other things that I'm doing. It's like other things that are filling me up. It's like, you don't fill me up. You drain me. You come in when you feel like coming in, then you fuck me up when you leave. It's like, I don't know. It's like because you feel inadequate. But then in that, you're making me feel inadequate. And Spirit says, hey, wait a minute. No one should be able to make you feel inadequate. That that had to be there before that person came in. It's like, so the Spirit says, oh, look, it really was. It's like, oh, why? Oh, because you were misunderstood as a little kid. You were sensitive. Oh, okay. And it's like it was seen as annoying. And that could be from a parent. Again, I should have been somebody else. I should have, like, the feeling, even if you were compared to a sibling, I should have, I wasn't good enough. Abuse. I'm thinking like more emotional abuse, but this kid got beat up. So I mean, it a lot of times too when parents get frustrated, right? So again, we get fearful. So that was the teaching back in the day, and it's not a blame game. We just have to understand where the hell did the wound come from, and what do I need to do to integrate it, to transmute the wound? Because I don't want to keep attracting people that make me feel unworthy, that make me feel not good enough, that make me feel like I'm so difficult to understand, to the point that they're comfortable abusing me. I just want to have hope. It's like, and I feel like you were somebody that always did have hope because you always had good intuition and things always did work out. It's not like they don't work out, but there's still the wounds that you haven't healed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 4, 5. But you get one more. That's the thing. Innocence. So I feel like, when you were a child, it affected you. Obviously, it affected the innocence. Well, this connection, this person ruined the innocence of the connection because of them feeling inadequate. So not all the time are you supposed to be with a soulmate. Again, sometimes people come in for a day, sometimes it's a season, sometimes it's a lifetime. This person came in for a season, came in for a little bit of time, but to pretty much teach you, to make you aware of what needed to be healed with inside of you. And yes, at the same time, this person is changing because of you also, because they're like, you're the one that kind of got away. But they'll always regret. They'll always look for you in other people. But as long as they want to go for the Prado instead of the Prada, it's always going to be a cheaper brand. It's not going to be the real deal. They're always going to know it. And that's going to make them feel inadequate. It's not good enough. It's again, because that's their self, fulfilling prophecy. And that's why they can say, well, this is why I never will with you, because of that. When really it's like, you're lazy. You don't want to do what it takes. It's like, because it's a choice. So it's a cop out. And so it doesn't mean that there isn't love. It's like that this person doesn't love themselves enough to do it, to step into the best version of themselves. That's what relationships give us the opportunity to do. That's what the past karmic relationship is. There is a lot of love. There is a lot of it, but it becomes painful, and it erodes the relationship. Like it erodes the innocence of the relationship, where it's like You already have really good intuition. It's like that's what happens when children emotionally don't get what they need. They become hypersensitive to emotions. And so they are begun to be able to read. So it's like you already knew what this person was doing. And that's why detaching yourself was the best thing to do, where spirit says, well, remember, you were at a juncture of life. You had an opportunity to go out and explore that and recreate your life. Like, and that means, finding yourself, creating new neurological pathways in your mind, which bring new habits and behaviorisms that help you attract to people and situations to who you are now, opposed to this person binding you to like childhood trauma, pretty much, of feeling like, oh, I get to still feel unworthy, yay, where it's like, no, spirit says, so it's karmic. And it's karmic because this person was not willing to evolve, to step into the higher version of themselves. And if you would have, played it out like, well, let me fix it, but you didn't do that. So you evolve, and this person again kind of, it's like they have to do a do-over almost, and but they're not happy because they never move on. They didn't get what they wanted. Your life is better. It's everything leads back to them feeling inadequate until they actually heal it, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then there's the lack of action to do anything different. It's the laziness. And that happens when a person feels inadequate. They trying to figure out in their mind so much that it's like they have burnout from trying to like think themselves, instead of, sometimes it's just about going out and being a child, doing things, getting your mind off and just discovering yourself without any expectation. This person is like looking for the answer, and in that, nothing's going to be the answer because they refuse to look inside themselves. So we leave it off with one more card, because again, if you're discovering new things, it's going to take you to new adventures. Anyway, say, but I don't really like that. And spirit says, well, that might be part of your healing too. Learning to have a relationship with yourself, that realizing you don't need anything outside of you to fulfill you, because as long as you're interactive in life, the universe is always going to bring you all these different people and situations and experiences that fill you emotionally, that open up your third eye to being able to envision new outcomes, new experiences, instead of, like I said, reliving the karmic theme of feeling inadequate, because this person feels inadequate. And that's it. You might have been brought up with people that felt like they were inadequate, and they were angry all the time because they were inadequate, and, made you feel that way. A lot of projection, because that happens too from growing up with people that are spiritually imbalanced, because there was no spiritual help. Leaving off with inner strength. Nothing moves me from my path to the light, because I have complete confidence in myself. I realize my innate qualities and abilities and know that with God, I can do anything. All the power I need is within me. And that's what Spirit is saying that you don't really need anything outside of you. See, I say like inner strength, I associate with emotional strength, right? Because when we don't feel strong, we feel needy. So not getting that nurturing, where spirit says, nah, then you started to see yourself like that because that was told to you. Someone, again, when you were young, made you feel unworthy. And that could have been not purposeful. It's just because of how the parent felt about themselves. They projected. And then their fear of having their child be inadequate because of how they felt about themselves. There's all different reasons why. Or you could have just been a highly sensitive child that felt different. And because you internalized a lot, you got affected more emotionally, you know, but gaining the strength, saying like you acquire inner strength not through the relationship, one relationship, but it's the relationships that you make throughout your day, without your life. One person can't fulfill you emotionally. The illusion is that you can. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have that favorite person. You can have that favorite person, but as long as you're balanced, where you're interactive in your day and having a love affair in your day, and you're finding yourself and creating yourself, becoming the energy of unconditional love by, again, connecting through the heart, through common interests, through those things, well, that's how you gain inner strength. And what you know is that this person is a karmic because they don't have inner strength. They don't. They're like, oh, I want to connect with you because I like what you have going on, and maybe you can give me some inner strength. No, that's something that you get through your character. And so this is all about saying you can love somebody, but I'm going to choose me. And that also takes a lot of inner strength, because it's like, I really want to be with this person, but they don't, I don't want that life that I know that they would give me. I'm not even going to go there with that. And Spirit says, and how are you going to maintain that? And he said, well, I'm going to grow my inner strength. I'm going to find myself. I'm going to create myself. And by going out and connecting to other people emotionally, I'll be strong enough to set a boundary. No, I will not go back into that situation. And when you hold that vibration long enough, the universe brings you someone that reflects that energy. But it's almost like you have to go through the initiation, because you too are breaking ancestral karma, which would be, I'm not going to grow up in a codependent relationship. I'm not going to be the fixer. I'm not going to be that person. I'm entitled to my own life. I'm entitled to, again, passions of life. I can be in a balanced, healthy relationship. I don't need to do it, but you're going to need to have inner strength, because there is love there. But the devil says, I know that there's love there, and I want you to choose that, because then you'll be bound to your pain. Where then there's the God consciousness, which is like, no, you're not going to choose that. You got to choose love, because that's the energy that you are. So you have to transcend the limitation of that perception. And that's through looking at the person and say, I still have unconditional love for you. However, I have more love for myself. I take care of myself. And that is really what breaking the karmic chain really is. And I think back in the day, people were taught to treat people the way you want to be treated. And so people didn't get what they needed, so they always overgave, And so now really Spirit's saying, you got to give yourself that, teach people how you want to be treated. And then you're automatically going to treat people the way that you treat yourself. But people forget to treat themselves that way. They say, I do it for you. Now I'm expecting you to do it for me. And then they don't never get the same energy back. And very rarely will you get the same energy back from the people that you put it out to. And that's a spiritual thing also. That's Spirit saying, because you want it that way. It's, again, the universe will bring you other people that do it for you. And the fact that you don't need it eventually takes the pressure off those people that you're like, hey, I want you to do that for me. It's like, because it just brings you back to a place of unconditional love, which is, you're probably really not going to do it for me because you don't know how to do it, but I love you anyway. It's like, and then that person does something else, and you're like, well, I didn't really expect them to express their love for me that way, but you begin to say, well, I love that person unconditionally, but that's their love language, is not the love language that I thought that I needed or that I wanted. It's like, because I never had it. It's like, I can do that for myself. And that's really where the inner strength comes from. Inner strength comes from that. But unless we find ourselves and connect and are getting emotionally fulfilled, we're not strong enough. And this person is not strong enough to give it to themselves They don't even know how to give it to themselves, so they wouldn't know how to give it to you. And they would continually project. Okay, so let's read some things. If anyone has any questions, please ask me. Hey, Miss Mimi. I got a huge argument with him. He's holding major grudges. Like, get over it. I've swallowed so much of his BS. I moved on. I think it's again the emotional sometimes connection is what when things start to get like a little toxic. I'm not getting a reaction. So I feel like you both are in this place of, I want you to move. No, I want you to move. No, I want you to move. No, I want you to move. And that's like when you do love someone, you do have feelings for someone, but they're you're like in a Mexican standstill pretty much. It's like, and the only thing that you would really have to do is move on. It's not to say that you moved on, but it's to really like go out. Once you go out, and you are interactive in life, they can feel when you cut that psychic cord. It's like that's when people get scared. It's like, because it's like you're not falling prey. And in separation from him since January, but I feel him pulling. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Just because you're separate doesn't mean that you're separate. It's again ESP through the heart and mind. But unless you were open to it, you wouldn't feel that energy. And that's the thing. So there's a part of you that's still holding on also. And that will happen until you meet somebody else. Or again, fill that time with something something that's going to fulfill you emotionally. Because I understand like that your brain is like, this is the last person that I had that type of connection to. And I don't see anyone else out there. So your brain will always revert to like, what was the last time? Again, the emotional support is what this person represents, even though they weren't consistent, even though they represent passion. And so without you like having any other ammunition, your energy is still open to this person. It's like, because you can't just get rid of that connection. It's like you didn't integrate the spiritual lesson fully. So that, yeah, this person is like, normally I can just tug a little bit and you're eventually going to come back. I can eventually manipulate you. And it's like, where it's like, and it is addictive because there's a sense of, well, I do get a dopamine hit from this person because it's like, I do have feelings for them. So the back and the forth, and it's like, but then you're like going along with this person conditioning, and then it creates like this passion, but toxic passion. And it's instead of like the no trust, and it's where love is hurtful. You can't be vulnerable, and that's the problem. So it's like, and I do believe a lot of times when the person is in and out and they play all these games, that it's addictive because you're releasing certain hormones, and so there are really things happening chemistry wise, which it's not good to be with a person that brings you high, high, and then low, low, and high, high, and low, low. What do you think that it does? It's like sickness and disease is that. Like, then karmic means that. Like, you wind up with someone that makes you sick. It's like, because you're always in a bad mood, or you're always stressed out, or you're always, like it's really bad for your nervous system. So it's really important, like who we wind up with, and it's to be able to acknowledge. And so I think you can have unconditional love for someone, but if someone's so toxic and they're really not giving you anything back and they're just creating that's a sign for you to look at yourself and say, why is this so entertaining to me? It's like, because that's really what it is. After a while, it's like, it's entertaining. It's like, why is it entertaining to me? It's like, because really It's just wasting time. And that might mean a lot of times I feel like a disassociation, like you may have a little bit of that energy, like where you have detachment issues. So get always winding up being with a person that emotionally can't give. It's like, but then the message is I can't really have consistent love. And that's, like I said, it's just not healthy to be around. It's like where you got to do it for yourself to get it. It's like, so it's about, really in this story, summed it up perfectly. Go out and have a love affair in your own life. Find yourself, pour into yourself. Part of me sometimes looks at this as, yeah, that is entertaining. That's what I'm saying. It is entertaining because, like, what are they going to do? But it's so toxic because, and it doesn't help you evolve within your life. And so it's a distraction. And that's the thing. It's like, and it's also because it shows that this person really truly has feelings and they care. And you can feel that they care because they get crazy. And that means something to you, but a person shouldn't need to do that to prove themselves. And that's the, like, they'll do that when they're not giving anything at all, and then all of a sudden do it, or they do it as a manipulative tactic, like they know how to do it. And that's why I'm saying it's like, it's just not a healthy thing. It's like, but when I can understand why it would be addictive because, like I said, we release those chemicals in our bloodstream that, this person is coming in and out of your life. It's like a little dopamine hit. It's like, because there is like passion there is feelings there is a connection there, but it's also like, come on, it's not healthy. So you have to hold to a certain standard and realize that, hey, maybe in this lifetime this person isn't going to get it. It's like they're just not going to get it because they need to rise to a certain level instead of like be like, well, I really like this person. I really hope that they're going to change. They're not going to change. Well, and that's why I'm saying, so to be around someone that's like a jerk all the time, it's like, who that, like, it's like that's, you know, gonna make you feel bad. It's like, why bother? And then, well, tomorrow he's gonna act like they actually like me, and next week they're gonna act like, it's like, no, it's like, you need to like me whether I look great, like I look like shit, like how I look today, like whether or not you know what I mean, like me all the time. Like you get that I get to be transparent. I don't have to be someone that I'm not. I don't have to be uncomfortable. It's like that I'm going to be accepted. It's like, and that's that, like, this is like, I'm going to condition you. And that's what I don't like. And that's because of my own inadequacy. I'm going to like try and make you into like what's going to fulfill me. No, you're not. It's like, and that's why I'm saying it's like they too busy trying, like focused on that they wouldn't be able to love you. And why the hell do you need that? No one needs that. No one's got time for that. So, you got to love you, but understand that you can have love for someone like that, but recognize you don't want to entertain it because you only have so much time, energy, focus, and money. And a person like that, they have no problem wasting your time and draining your energy. And that's the thing, and not give anything. And you don't want to waste your time. Right. Well, that's what happens. It's like it's all about them. It's the survival mode. And that's why I'm saying when you know that, but you have to say, okay, so what can take its place? Why am I like there? If it's like if I'm entertaining this, that what should I actually be entertaining? Because again, that's they're making you feel unloved, right? Where in your life don't you feel love? Is it with work? Have you created yourself? Do you have other passions in your life? It's like it's about, if you want to change that energy, because over time you can say, I still love this person, but I don't like them and I don't feel connected anymore. It's like, it's almost like I appreciate whatever it was that you came into my life to teach me, but I don't resonate with you anymore. And that happens when you learn the spiritual lesson and you integrate the lesson, and a person is like, no, I'm just not going to evolve. It's like, well, guess what? You chose to evolve, and now you don't even find that person attractive anymore. What happened? And well, it's like the karmic curse is broken. It's like, that's like you all of a sudden don't find that person attractive. You don't resonate with them anymore. You're not on the same vibration. And I think that that's the moral to the story. You have to say, when you get to a place with a person that's a jerk and they don't want to heal themselves and they don't want to stay, instead of you being like, well, now I'm stuck because I still have feelings. Well, it's to flip the switch. And that's by you evolving out of that person's life. It's like, because that's what that person is not banking on, that, because most people don't. Most people just linger on. So it's like, yeah, you'll linger. No, not, you don't want to do that. You want to like the next time this person checks in, they should see, oh my God, when did that person get a TV show? Or like when did that person get, like, look at that life that that person has. Like, you're saying, I'm not waiting around for you. It's like, who are you? It's like, I cut the cord. I like to really live. Like, you want to be in imagination land. It's like, it's just not enough. And that's otherwise their selfishness, like, you'll get bitter because of their selfishness. And it's a way that you can actually choose to shape shift the situation. Hey, everybody. Hey, Pri. I'm about to tune off. Got here a little late there with your thing on, your notification bell thing on. Listen to me. Was your thing on? your, yeah, well, you're changing the dynamic of the connection. So it just you don't resonate with the person anymore. So it's like, yeah, like, and you don't find them attractive anymore. Like, you can't see them through those rose-colored glasses of, hey, your potential is, you're not seeing their potential anymore. What you're seeing is that, oh, it's okay, Pri, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. I'm going to be on at all different times. Yeah, I'm just getting back into the swing of it. I was sick for like a really long time, for like 3 months. And that's the death of my husband, not my own disassociation. I never cried when my parents died because I didn't have a good relationship. And then, when he died, it was like I cried a little bit, but then it was like, I got really sick. I got asthma, and I was like never this sick before. And then it was like all these things came up, and lungs represent grief. So it was a lot of suppressed emotions. It was very therapeutic, but it's almost like, it gets harder after a person dies. Like, it's like, at first, like with the first few months, it's like, it's not like, oh yeah, everything's fine, but it's like your brain tricks you as time goes by. You're like, wait a minute, this is really happening. You know what I mean? Which you're like, I know that it hasn't, but that's, things change. So I'm going to be on more often. I wasn't on for a while because I was sick and I was grieving. And then look, I got a black eye. I got elbowed in the eye for Thanksgiving. Like, I mean, like, I just want this year to be over already. So, yeah, no, it's like, I knew my husband was going to go, and I was very grateful, like, to take care of him in hospice and everything. And we went to Atlantic City 2 months before he passed away. Not Atlantic City, Somalia in Tampa, the casino, the Hard Rock, and and all the way up to the end. He didn't want to know what went on, what was happening, even though hospice would come in. And I think he knew, he just didn't know the gist of it, and we made the best of it. I mean, I'm very grateful for that experience. And during that time, that's when I started to work on YouTube and everything. And so, I mean, it's hard. It was been a hard year because of that. But I married someone a lot older than me too, but he didn't act it. you know. So and at least I experienced unconditional love. I healed that, my disassociation, through that, because my husband, I believe, was my healer. So I mean, and I believe, as I told my friend, that I'll catch you in the next lifetime. It's like we live many, many lifetimes, so we wouldn't learn that we're not separate from God through the universe. We wouldn't know that we weren't separate from unconditional love. There's parts of ourselves that continue to live karmic themes. Like sometimes we have to keep learning one stupid karmic lesson an entire lifetime. So it takes us many lifetimes, and we incarnate with the same people, and we recognize them, and we recognize them through the fact that we have clairsentient, claircognizance, and the deja vu, and all those things, and that there really is no death. There's Because ESP is through the heart and mind, so everything is like you bring back. You can recall a person that you love that died, and you can see them in your head, just like how you do with ESP. So it's the same, which is a beautiful thing. There's a lot of comforting. I'm so glad, Richard. I mean, and that's what it is. There's a whole other spiritual dimension that our society doesn't talk about, but we need to, because when we do, we realize that we're not inadequate, that there's nothing actually wrong. Everything's divine, even the things that we don't like, and that we do have the power to heal. Our body and mind are self-healing organisms. It's how the universe has made us. So I want to thank everyone for sharing your energies with me. I will be on again tomorrow. Going to be more consistent. I mean, you're going to see it more and more. I'm still, reconditioning. I gave myself into the new year, but I said I'm going to be on more consistently. You could always feel free to leave questions or topics, and I'll do lives on them. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. See you tomorrow. Bye.